Welcome back to NTV Tonight. We are here with the majority leader in the National Assembly, that is the Honorable Amos Kimunya, to talk to us about the next phase of this, because obviously the House is being spoken about in terms of passing some of the bills. The administrative ones, the executive will take care of. The legislative ones is Parliament. And I want us to talk about that. Let's start with the events of today. From what you saw in terms of this quest for consensus in this debate, what do you make of what you saw today?
Let me say today was a unique day. And if I compare today with what happened last year, when the first report was tabled, it's total difference. Things were much more orderly today, and the speakers were more focused, starting from the motions of, Mama Pendo and the family, and the people who spoke, bringing out the issues as representing basically some of the things that people don't talk about, and bringing closures to some of those things, and let the blood that was spilled for that innocent baby be the last.
Yes.
That is a message to Kenyans that with or without the BBI, okay, whether you support it or not, but let's not spill any more blood because of political competition.
Okay.
And let's value people's property. And basically the message that some people are missing is that BBI process did not begin today. It's been on for 2 years. They brought a report last November. People are told to read it, then go for validation processes, add whatever they thought was missing, so that the team would then come with a harmonized final, which captures what the people had said earlier, plus what the reviewers commented on. So I was very surprised today to then hear people now bringing in their submissions afresh. And it came from different people. Oh, I've looked at it and this does not. Yet they are perhaps failing to appreciate that there must come a time when the process of collecting views and drafting and redrafting must come to an end.
But
otherwise you end up with this...
isn't that the issue, Majority Leader? Because it appears that there are divergent opinions from every corner, okay? Whether it's on specific issues, whether it's on the general document.
And there will always be.
Yes. And
people will never agree.
Yes. So based on that, how do we proceed? Are we holistically changing the Constitution as is, or we are changing specific items and sections of that Constitution?
The committee received thousands of issues.
Yes.
And everyone wanted it put in a constitution. People wanted Mira in the constitution. People wanted the price of tea guaranteed in a constitution. Yeah? And you saw through the various meetings. But the committee has clearly stated that, yes, we received so many things, but we have only included in this draft what we think are the most critical. The issues that received broad consensus.
Yes.
Because somebody may want something done in one way. The people of Nyandarua would want the town of Nyahururu removed from Laikipia back to Nyandarua. Right? But that's the people of Nyandarua. The people of Laikipia want it retained. Now, who do you of the two do you then side with? So there are always issues that will contradict one another and all that. And it's in any decision making, you must aim to achieve a certain consensus, put a time limit, and say, by the time we get here, so long as we have received some broad consensus on this issue, we will now take it to the next step.
Yes.
And that next step will be, there are some policy issues that they have identified, which people are not even talking about. And those will have to be processed through the county governments and some in the national government. And including some policy issues that were raised by the Deputy President. So I'm sure he'll be taking those to the Cabinet so that they process them and give it to us. Because us in Bomas, we can't do Cabinet work.
Yes.
Then there are some legislative issues which will come to us in Parliament. And I'm glad to see some of them we have already taken on board. For example, on the Higher Education Loans Board, Honorable Gideon Keter has already brought a bill in Parliament, which is already going through the processing. And several others. I've just been looking through that list and I said, yes, these are all good suggestions. They've come from the Kenyans. And for us in Parliament, we then enrich even the process further. Yes. And there'll be the public participation for anything else left out.
Okay.
Then there's the constitutional issues.
Yes.
Now, when you look at the issues that have been put in the Constitution, and you look at the architecture of the way it's been framed, it becomes very clear there's lots of interconnectivity. So you can't amend one without thinking of where else does it affect the Constitution. And hence, the safest way would actually be to look at that from a holistic, as a package.
Okay.
Right? Because when you start cutting and pasting and removing and saying let's do this one through Parliament, let's do this one through a referendum, then first of all, you risk getting one issue passed in Parliament, then the interconnected issue is lost in the referendum, or vice versa, right? Then you end up with a situation, for example, the current situation we are in, that we said within Article 27, about the gender rule. We brought in within 81B that the system of election must ensure a two-thirds, no more than two-thirds.
Yes.
But then, what happened after that? In Naivasha, the mixed member proportional representation was removed.
Yes.
When it was removed, nobody went back to the 81B to say, now that you've removed this, let's also amend 81B. So you end up with this situation where for 10 years, for 8 years, Parliament has been grappling with how do you ensure that without having to expand Parliament, when it was very clear that the framers did not want an expanded Parliament.
Yes. For us to move forward in this referendum question, and of course having been floated by the Right Honourable Prime Minister and a couple of the other leaders, and right now we don't have a referendum law, and there are processes going on in Parliament with JLAC and the other committees to sort of harmonize those two motions that have been brought before the House. How do we proceed with that, and how does it inform what then happens with BBI?
See, as the beauty with BBI and all the other processes of Parliament, BBI has not stopped Parliament from working. I think there are people who have that idea that now that BBI has come, everything must be carried by the BBI bandwagon. Parliament continues. We have the two referendum bills, and as we're talking here, the two committees are harmonizing the two. So by the time we go back to Parliament in a week after next, I expect them to now give us a harmonized report that shows that, yes, which of the two bills do we take as the anchor bill? And then bring the other one as amendments into this so that we only end up with one referendum law. So that's taking place, and then we then process through Senate. And because everyone appreciates the urgency of the matter, we would want to prepare for the referendum as Parliament, so that when people of Kenya decide they want a referendum, we have a law for them. Then, obviously, there's some amendments to some issues on IEBC. There's all those things.
Exactly. Let's talk about that, because one of the proposals is to reform IEBC, so to speak, as a holistic...
Within the Constitution.
Yes, within the Constitution.
But even before then, for the IEBC to carry out a referendum that will be acceptable to everyone, there might be some reforms that are needed now. It's not constituted fully.
Yes, and exactly.
And we have already done some legal amendments already in Parliament to facilitate that process.
Some of them have been listed there. Right now we have 3 commissioners, including the chairperson, and one of the recommendations is that we vet them afresh, either that or we just bring in a new team. How do we do that? What is the timeline so that we provide for the referendum if it gets to that? And of course now preparations for 2022.
Let's just take it this way.
As regards IEBC.
We will, it's not an if, we are anticipating that, yes, with the completion of BBI and looking at the issues that are listed, including issues affecting a Bill of Rights, they will require a referendum. Okay. Now, we only have, 20 months to the next election.
Yes. So
you don't want to do a referendum within the last year. So we need to prepare to have the referendum at least within the next
year. What
within the next
timeline
1
do
year.
you give as
Now, as Parliament, the laws that we require to facilitate the referendum will be ready, I would say almost before we go in December for the long recess. Because there's a commitment.
Okay.
And the two committees, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee and the Committee on the Implementation of the Constitution are working flat out to ensure that. Right. So we don't want to let Kenyans down. Now, the other thing we just also need to ask is, let Kenyans take this time to also read and interrogate this document. Not to start bringing new proposals, right?
What if someone has a divergent opinion? Something you've proposed does not
we
work for them?
We are 47 million Kenyans.
Yes.
There is no issue that you put on the table, including what food should we eat today.
But isn't that
you
the
receive
point? Because
a consensus for the 47 million.
Yes. Because
so that's why you go for a referendum, and within a referendum, you then say there is what percentage, must the law pass by, so that we know that the majority of Kenyans supported it or not. So if you receive, like 2010, I believe it received a 65%.
60 or between 60 and 65 or thereabout,
Exactly. But there was a 33 or 34% that say not to it.
Yes.
It didn't mean it was about constitution. But it just says 33% of people did not like it for one reason or the other. Even on this one, even in terms of the people who are in Bomas today, even not just one or two, people still say there's still something you can do, there's still something you can do. But for how long can you continue improving? Right? You know, there's this thing you call paralysis through analysis. The more you analyze a document, the more you get paralyzed and you get stuck. You know, just spinning like you're walking on a treadmill. Right? You're using a lot of energy, but you're going nowhere. Right? So we must stop that treadmill movement on this constitutional moment for Kenya.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Majority Leader in the National Assembly, Amos Kimunya, will be leading, of course, some of the legislative processes in the implementation and adoption of the BBI report.